Thank you so much, Ramki. Moving on. Now, as a part of MRSI's sustainability initiative, there is a no plastic policy here at the seminar. Some of you would have also noticed that some of the name tags that you've got this time have been actually reused from the previous editions from either the annual seminar or the GKs in the past. Additionally, also all the content is all online, and I'm just going to repeat this again, that it's all available on the QR code again. So do scan it for all, anything that you want to check, like agenda, etc. And you can obviously also post all questions through the QR code itself. The LinkedIn profiles of all the speakers that you will see on the screen or on the stage actually are also available on the QR code. So in case you want to know a little bit more about them, just scan and you will have a lot of that information. On that note, because we are talking sustainability, a huge shout out to our sustainability patrons, Hindustan Unilever. Hindustan Unilever believes that brands that, with purpose grow, people with purpose thrive, and companies with purpose last. And hence they live by the philosophy of doing well by doing good. Thank you so much, Unilever, for being our sustainability patron for this time.
And now, the moment that we've all been waiting for. Let's dive into the world of the wonderful original research papers that we're here to learn more about. We would like to invite Ramki back again to introduce the first topic, steering. At this time, we'd also like to thank ITC, who are our partners for this segment. ITC is one of India's foremost private sector companies and a diversified conglomerate spanning across businesses. ITC's uncompromising commitment to the health and safety of its consumers ensures adherence to the highest levels of quality, safety, and hygiene standards in manufacturing processes and in supply chain. ITC has a vibrant portfolio with world-class brands delighting over 230 million households in India. Thank you, and over to you, Ramki.
Thank you again, and I promise you I'll take lesser time than last time in introducing what steering is all about. As I said earlier in my introduction to the theme itself, steering is all about methodology. So what we mean by that is, are we talking about newer and newer methodologies? Not necessarily so. We are talking about, has there been thinking around using an existing methodology to new problems? Or is there a new consumer set itself that we are looking at? There are so many things that we talk, like in terms of consumer set, there are so many new consumer sets that we all keep talking about, right? One, like for example, are the number of households with a household size of 1 increasing? That's a new group. Are single women as an entity, is that big? So there are so many such new groups coming. Do we have existing methodologies? How do we tame them to be able to study the new groups as well? And then are new problems emerging? How do we use existing methodology to address a new problem by itself? So using all this, primarily with methodology as a lens, we had a fantastic collection of papers. Unfortunately, not all of them could make it to the final, but whoever has made it to the final, congratulations on that. And very, very happy to introduce this session, and we'll dive straight away into the papers right now. Thank you.
Thanks once again, Ramki. And now with this, I'm going to invite the first team of the day to present their paper with a huge, big, resounding applause, please. The team from the NIQ and Tata Motors on the theme of revitalizing commercial vehicles, infusing soul into steel.
Hi, can you hear me? Just before the timer starts, just hold on, please. Please reverse the timer because I'm the guinea pig. I'll be kind of the first one leading the stage here. Okay. So, very good morning to all of you, and it feels great to kick off the session here. Before I start, I wanted to ask a question. How many of you are really fans of those beautiful one-line poems that you see in back of trucks? You know, those shairis that you see on back of trucks. Any hands? A show of hands? Yeah, lots of them, right? And I am a fan, and I'll tell you my favorite shairi. It is this one, and listen carefully. It's Malik ki gaadi, driver ka pasina. Malik ki gaadi, driver ka pasina, chalti hai road par sachkar hasina. Any guesses what the hasina is? It's a truck. It's a truck, right? Yeah. So it's a very pertinent slogan because what we're going to do today is unravel the mystery of missing Maliks and missing drivers. Okay, and that mysterious hasina weighs a few tons and is about 23 feet long, which is a truck. right? Okay, so what we started off with the saying by saying is trucking will remind you of that one relative who is very hardworking, wakes up early in the morning, works the whole day, and doesn't receive the kind of reward that he deserves. So put yourselves in the shoes of a truck driver, waking up in the morning, the same routine, the same routes. There are police to be handled. There is the fluctuating fuel price that are to be done. At the end of the day, your parcel cannot be delayed. Okay. So while it's an exciting work profile, what happens is at the end of the day, monotony sets in, and it takes a toll of you physically as well as mentally. And because of that, a lot of trucking professionals are today hanging up their keys. Okay. So there is a talent crunch, like all of us face that all the time. So there's a talent crunch in the trucking industry. At the same time, new people do not want to join the industry. Okay, they say it's too much, why should I work so much? This is a career option of the last resort. Okay, that's what happens. Now, Tata Motors, being the lead player, it's a behemoth who's been there, and Tata Motors is synonymous with trucks. They realized that there's a storm brewing here, and we need to take action. Not only because we have the largest stake here, it's only because the industry is on an edge today. Okay, there's a whole industry on the edge, and that set a series of introspections. Okay, questions were: are we carrying paper maps in the age of GPS, right? Or the second one is we are obsessed with our products and engineering, but have our drivers and Maliks taken a backseat in this entire effort? Okay, so those were the kind of deep questions which set us off on this journey. And what we did first, okay, this slide is a tribute to Christopher Nolan, as complicated as Nolan movies. And the plot will tell you that typically every trucking decision involves a lot of intricate details, right? So typically on the left, if you see, is a small Tata Ace. If you go to Pune, there is a vegetable farmer who drives the Ace to the market yard in Pune. And you'll realize that when he wants to go for his next vehicle, he says, I want a vehicle which is like a car, because my cousin drives a car, I'm driving a commercial vehicle. Okay, I don't want to feel any more lower than him. I want it to be as good as a car. So that's one perspective, and what's the aspiration there. On the other end, if you see a really long truck there, imagine a mine owner in Jharkhand who has a fleet of 20 vehicles, right? For him, the aspiration is all those jazzy vehicles that he sees on the internet working in diamond mines in South Africa. So completely different worlds, completely different set of expectations, but each of them equally important for the tapestry of products that we deal with, right? Let me move ahead. Next part was the mindset challenge. On the left, what you see is the khata book mindset, the owner mindset. Kitna mileage hai, kitna profit hoga, kitna load legi gaadi. A very rational set of decisions that drive it. On your right is the jazba mindset. And why do I say jazba mindset? Because when a driver is driving on Indian roads, it's only instinct that can keep you alive, right? Logic doesn't work. The way, if you've been trailing a truck, you know how speedily they go on those highways and the kind of twists and turns that they manage with all that load that they are carrying. So the jazba mindset and the khata book mindset, the challenge was, how do I, as a brand, I cannot afford to, choose one. I have to manage both and bring them on to the common platform and give them the best. Right. Okay. Then the piece of a very complicated Lego challenge, as we call it, because ultimately a truck is a truck. Thousands of parts come together and make a truck. Okay, now my challenge and our challenge was really to reduce all those parts in a Lego piece. In a Lego piece, you kind of, know that this is the map, these are the pieces, make a truck. Here, I had to remove a lot of pieces, just keep the 40 essential ones, and then start creating the minimal viable product or a minimum viable truck, which can work across a lot of variables, right? So a tailored choice architecture was done. There was a hierarchy of essentials which was given, and each team had to then work on it. Finally, casting the net wide, it is like, as I said, it's a Nolan movie, so you have to really go deep there and understand where do I find these relevant audiences. So we went to mandis, nakas, e-com, warehouses, schools, you name it, we were there. Okay, and so the cake was very well baked. Now, what turned out and how did the cake really taste at the end of it is something which Debanjana will take us through. Over to you, Debanjana.
Yeah. Thank you, Amaya. A very good morning, everyone. So I'm going to take you through not so many filmy connotations, but more of the findings and what we did. So starting off, So from Amia, you heard, it was a very complex category. There were a lot of challenges happening, and we really needed a very fresh lens to look at it. So what are the things we did? We did actually 3 things. First, it all starts with yourself. First, refresh your own assumptions about the category, because we knew somewhere that the category was changing. The second, we prioritize the driver, the actual souls behind the steel, and they have been neglected for a very, very long time. And thirdly, we horses for courses, we needed a very customized way to segment the drivers, and we needed a very differentiated approach. Now, let's go through each one of them and what we did very quickly. The first is refreshing our assumptions. Like Amia said, the Hasina takes center stage, the 23 feet long truck, and people have always been getting a lot of cues from the exteriors of a truck, but we actually saw the language changing. Earlier, people used to take cues like tonnage, strength from the exteriors, but we saw the narrative shifting. People were talking about interiors. Drivers were focusing on interiors. Even in exteriors, it was just not about the tonnage. It was about how good the truck looked, comfortable, whether the interiors were safe, and also about status. So people should look at you when you're driving it on the road. Second is we saw a shift in language from optimizing cost to maximizing time. Now, what do we mean by that? Cost is very important in this category, cost of operations, ROI, and that's always there. But we saw people actually talking about maximizing time. How do you increase efficiency, especially with your last mile deliveries happening? How do you increase the driver output? And how do you really maximize your time? Lastly, it's a business, of course, profits matter. But the whole focus started shifting to the driver. It was a very driver-first kind of an attitude. And this was happening because of a couple of things. One, people started acknowledging, especially the owners, the long working conditions of the drivers, the long hours they were spending on the road, and also the egalitarian relationship between the owners and the drivers today. It was not so hierarchical. So we exactly did that. We focused on the driver, understood their life trajectory, how they were spending their lives, and we actually shifted our focus from looking at them just as customers of the vehicle, but as human beings. What was their business game plan like? What do they want to do with their business? What was their future strategy like? Did they want to grow? Was it exponential growth? Was it status quo, or were they taking calculated risks? And finally, very, very important, how were they coping with the change? Whether it was COVID or the BS6 vehicles coming in or certain technological innovations. And finally, we had 6 very, very differentiated segments. We don't have time today, but I'll just take you through 3 very quickly. So there you had an established frontrunner, a second-gen owner, huge empire, but today wants to build his community. Or a Desi pioneer, a guy from the heartland, a first-gen guy come in, wanting to make it big, very, very individual-focused and recognition-driven, versus a struggling operator who's given up hope of the industry and doesn't even want a second generation to get in. So you see how differentiated and complex these segments were. So we needed a very, very customized metrics to segment them. We had 20 plus variables. We came up with 2 variables, a tangible variable of fleet size and SEC, and the propensity to change. How will they adapt to change? Because adapting to change is adapting to the future. But again, like we know, change is very, very difficult to define. So what did we do? We came up with a risk index and a tech index, which was specifically made for this study, based on the drivers and the owners' attitude and mindset to risk and their tech usage habits. And every driver got a score, and then we mapped the segments. And as the category was evolving, the brand also needed to evolve. So we used archetypes, but from the lens of evolution of the archetype, and hence came a new avatar of Tata Motors, keeping the core intact for a new narrative. Over to you, Dhairya, for the new narrative.
Thank you.
Press it. The green one.
Yeah. So this slide talks about the transformation that is happening in the industry over a period of 5 to 10 years. And this research piece confirmed the trends and also what are the underlying attitudinal shifts that are leading to these trends. So I would focus on, so there are 3 trends. Let me focus on the second trend, which is digital. So digital was earlier only being used as a marketing tool or maybe as a community outreach and a community building program. But now if you look at digital, a driver is using digital apps like a porter to sustain his daily living. So people like us, who are here in this room, we use apps only for shopping or maybe ordering food, but for a driver, it's like earning his daily bread. Then the first piece, which is about features. So earlier, all the industry players were marketing the trucks basis the features, but now we have humanized those features and are focusing on the safety and comfort of the driver, which is very important because the industry is in a huge shortage of drivers, and the current drivers don't want their sons to become drivers. So now I'll shift to the AV. I think let us play the AV first.
ड्राइवर साहब की आंखों पे नजर रखना हमारा काम है, हमारी ड्यूटी है। जैसे ही ड्राइवर साहब को नींद आएगी, अंबर, और अगर दोबारा नींद आई तो ये पागल क्या? पर कुछ भी हो जाए, ड्राइवर साहब को नींद नहीं।
टाटा ट्रक्स लाए हैं ड्राइवर मॉनिटरिंग सिस्टम। ड्राइवर की जरा सी भी आंख लगने पर अलार्म बजकर उसे जगा देता है ताकि आपका ट्रक हमेशा सेफ रहे। अब सेफ्टी होगी और भी ज्यादा। टाटा ट्रक्स, देश के ट्रक्स।
So this is the last slide where we end the presentation. So if you see the AV, this is just one small ad that we have created. There are a series of ads focusing on the driver safety, comfort, and also the peace of mind for the owner. So there is an entire suite of applications for both.
And so now you see a happy driver with two Hasinas.
So any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions, okay. So I might have spoken for longer.
Thank you so much, team.